Welcome back to Cinema Cascade, where today we'll be discussing the best Netflix series for you to watch in 2024 so far. We'll be covering everything like drama, fantasy, animation, and even zombies who solve crime. So in my totally biased opinion, here are the top 10 series to watch on Netflix right now. First on the list here is Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now I know a lot of people won't like this one because they believe the live action adaptation doesn't live up to the animation, and I definitely agree with that. I will be the first to admit that the OG Avatar: The Last Airbender was great. It was some of the most inspired animated content to ever come out in over 2 decades. But when I watched the live action, I was actually pleased, mostly because it was aces better than that idiotic Avatar movie that came out back in 2010. It has a compelling story of oppression by a totalitarian government led by a maniac set on world domination, a savior figure who was supposed to defeat the said maniac, some cool fight choreography, and oh, did I mention that almost every character can control elements like fire, earth, water, and air in really interesting ways? There's even a flying bison, and people being set on fire. What's not to love? Next up, let's talk about Sense8. So you know how there's this thing called twin connection and 2 people can seemingly be connected over vast distances? Well, how about we do that with 8 people for no apparent reason? That is what this Sense8 series is. So riddle me this, there's one woman who gave birth to 8 people from around the world, and this enabled them to have psychic connection, where each member could tap into the knowledge, memories, and skills of the other, making them some sort of uncharacteristically hive-minded individuals, and they all have to work together to face a secret organization known as the Whispers, who wants to eradicate the Sense8. It's honestly one of the weirdest plots I've encountered in a while, but I give it props for originality and stunning visuals, and the fact that the Wachowskis actually directed the series made me even more sold. All right, next, we gotta talk about the OA. All right, I'm gonna keep it real with you. If you've been watching our videos on this channel long enough, you'll start to realize something. We like to suggest movies or series that not only entertain, but have a lot of meaning as well. The OA is definitely one of those series. The series is a cacophony of elements such as the supernatural, fantasy, drama, the Russian mafia, kidnapping, school shootings, and dance moves that help you travel dimensions. Yep, if you're confused or puzzled, then you're just starting to scratch the surface of how wild and somewhat aggravating this series is. This series takes us on a journey as a young blind girl suddenly reappears after going missing for 7 years, who claims to be an angel. She enlists the attention of a group of students and a teacher and proceeds to tell them all of her sad tales, and best believe that her stories will have you screaming, what? It's all so fantastically woven together with layers and layers of intrigue and mystery that it's easily one of my favorite Netflix series. Seriously, that dance at the season 1 finale was something to behold, and it had so much emotion and it just makes the series one of a kind. Now, there aren't many series out there that blend the vibes of anime with that intense energy like the Squid Game, but if they did, it would be like that fusion went on a wild-ass adventure. Yep, that is what Alice in Borderland is, anime and Squid Game with more adventure. When a group of friends suddenly get transported to an abandoned version of Tokyo in a dimension called the Borderland, which is filled with curious individuals, and they're all forced to play a set of games if they're going to survive in the Borderland. Because if they lose a game, well, they typically lose their lives or have something terrible happen to them. The series is literally packed with so much stimulation. It's like the Netflix producers got together and said, let's make a series for our subscribers with the worst case of ADHD. And I love it because the series starts out good, but as you progress from seasons 1 to 2, it just gets so much darker. And speaking of dark, let's talk about this series here. This is another series that has a rather outlandish plot, but somehow managed to keep me glued to my screen for 3 seasons, and I am not ashamed of it. But let's move on from that. So what happens in the show? Well, like every good Netflix series, it starts off with a child going missing, and the search for the child reveals that time travel is possible and there's such a thing as alternate universes and untold realities. The characters start to navigate through time, and over again they uncover secrets about their families and their town that totally flips the series on its head. And you know what? That's kind of how I like it. Now, to be fair, the plot is a little bit all over the place, and it will confuse you so many times with all the talks of time loops and then world A and world B and the never-ending twist, but trust me, you'll be glad that you dedicated all the time that you did to this series. And there's another thing that you'll be glad about as well. It is subscribing to Cinema Cascade. So if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button faster than a time traveler mission, and that like button so that you will even be closer to the next great adventure. Now, this one's gonna get a little bit weird, but if you like zombie movies and you like crime thrillers where an audacious detective solves a lot of crime and catches the bad guy, well, then you're going to love Izombie. You see, Liv is a self-respecting medical practitioner who sadly gets turned into a zombie who has a hankering for human brains. But she is not the conventional zombie, you see, although she does have the potential to be one. She realizes that if she occasionally eats the brains of people, she can remain sane and won't need to become a mindless homicidal zombie. So she starts working for a morgue where she can feed undead brains. Yep, that's gross. The only problem is that when she eats the brains of the dead victims, she gets access to their memories and personalities, which helps her make sense of how they died and eventually find their killer. So she starts working as a consultant detective to help solve crimes and serve justice. See, zombies can be helpful. Meanwhile, the threat of a zombie outbreak is conspicuously looming in her city. It's a 5-season show, and man, that crap is interestingly weird. All right, next, let's talk about Warrior. Now, I was extremely surprised when I saw Warrior on Netflix. I was like, how? Why? And then I just accepted it and just had a good time. No, but for real, if you love a series where they just throw hands, no, like for real, I mean straight up hands, in what is a bloody and yet gorgeous and terrifying way, Warrior is the best series for you. When renegade Chinaman with a knack for martial arts moves to San Francisco in search of his sister, he gets thrusted into a battle between the Chinese gangs as well as other unconventional enemies that culminates in the Tong Wars of the 1900s. Warrior is fantastic. The pacing, the drama, the steamy scenes, and most of all, the hands. These dudes got hands. No, but seriously, the best part of the story came from the mind of Bruce Lee, so that should tell you all that you need to know. All right, next up here is The Recruit. And I'll start off by saying this. I love Noah Centineo, but my only problem is that I don't get to see him in a lot of movies. So when I saw that there was a Netflix series that starred Noah as the main lead, I was like, okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. So Noah plays Owen Hendricks, a bright lawyer who just started working for the CIA. He reads a letter from a woman who threatens to release delicate CIA secrets. His world gets turned upside down as he tries to get her to stop, leading him to an unbridled amount of chaos and bloodshed that a young lawyer shouldn't be privy to. Honestly, I always suspected that the CIA was a messed up place to work, but after watching this series and knowing how detailed and similar it is to actual CIA operations, let's just say I am no longer suspicious. I am sure that working for the CIA is messed up. Please don't come for me, CIA. Now, Blue Eye Samurai is the only animated series on this list, but boy, it is so good. It tells the story of Mizu, a mixed-race citizen of Japan who is a master of swords, who lives in the Edo period of the nation. Due to her mixed heritage, Mizu faced a lot of bullying and discrimination from her fellow Japanese brethren. After Mizu's mother, a Japanese woman, was abused and abandoned by her father, who was a white man from the West. Now, Mizu plans to take revenge on him and his 3 other compatriots. So Mizu sets out on a quest to find him, and this ends up generating a bunch of enemies. The fight scenes and the animation of the series are honestly top tier, and the story is as captivating almost as the characters. Seriously, Netflix, we need a season 2 ASAP, but unfortunately, we may have to wait until 2026 for that one. Now, lastly, we have You. Yes, you heard that right, You. There are a lot of words that I can use to describe this series, particularly the main character, Joe. He's weird, psychotic, Ted Bundy in the making, but through it all, You is probably the most eccentric storyline I have seen in a while. It centers on Joe, a smart and bright young man with a habit of falling for the wrong woman, and whenever he does, he gets obsessed. I mean, full-on stalker, breaks into your house and steals your phone type of crap, and trust me, so much more. It's weird, but it gets a whole lot weirder as Joe's love for this woman compels him to do rather unspeakable things to earn their affection. And let's just say it doesn't end well for Joe. You has such a unique way of storytelling, which is why it's easily one of my favorite series on Netflix today, one that I highly recommend. So that's it for the list of the best shows to watch on Netflix in 2024. If you love this video and want to see more videos on the best content to watch on Netflix and your favorite streaming platforms, then check out all of our playlists here on the channel. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel here. Tell me your favorite series as well on this list in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching Cinema Cascade.